Okay, so let's dive right into this. We're talking about a confrontation that happens at the literal midnight of the soul. It's where a king has to face a reflection of his own will, in a place that's beyond all comfort, beyond all his usual tricks and lies. This is the encounter at the Seventh Solitude.
So where is all this happening? Well, it's not really a place at all. The source material calls it a phenomenological null zone, which is a fancy way of saying it's a conceptual void where reality just stops. The cold here is so absolute, so complete that it literally erases shadows. There's no sound, no light, just this deep, profound silence. The perfect stage for the duel that's about to go down. And that name, the Seventh Solitude? Yeah, that's not just for show. It's got deep philosophical roots. In Nietzschean thought, it's the ultimate point of trial. It's a state of being where everything external is stripped away and you're forced to face what's really at your core. Here, you have two choices. You either become your own source of light, or you get completely swallowed by your own abyss.
So into this void, this absolute nothingness, walks our guy, the Twilight Moon King. But he's not alone. Waiting for him is a shadow. And this isn't a shadow cast by light. No, this thing is made of pure will and silence. And it's there for one reason, to challenge the very foundation of who the king is. The shadow doesn't mess around. It gets right to the point, zeroing in on the king's exhaustion. And then it asks the killer question. Who are you when there is no stain to paint and no ego to eclipse? Think about that. It's basically asking, if you strip away all your projects, your persona, your accomplishments, what's actually left of you? It's that nagging feeling, that imposter syndrome, that fear that without all the stuff we do, we might be, well, nothing.
But the king, even though he's cornered, he's not going to just roll over. He's still a sovereign, after all. He clings to his purpose and offers up a defense for his entire reign, a justification for the very darkness that he represents.
And his response? It's a powerful one. He claims he isn't just a ruler of the dark. He's the one who gives it meaning. He's the one who turns a simple absence of light into something deep and profound. He sees himself as this necessary cosmic balance, the final logical endpoint to the light.
But the shadow? Yeah, it's not buying any of it. Not for a second. It completely rejects this grand story the king tells himself. And then, it just begins to mercilessly tear apart everything the king believes he is, piece by piece.
And this is where things get really intense. The entire confrontation just pivots on this one single word: lies. Wow. With just that, the shadow dismisses the king's entire identity, his life's work, as a total fraud. It's an absolutely devastating blow. So the shadow just flips the script entirely. It says his sovereignty isn't power, it's a burden, a heavy, crushing weight it calls the spirit of gravity. The argument is that the king isn't ruling from a place of strength. No, he's trapped, a prisoner of his own deep self-loathing, his great disgust. And the accusations just keep coming, getting more and more specific. Every one of the king's core beliefs is twisted into a defense mechanism. His great creation, the blight, that was just an escape from accepting raw, unfiltered reality. His monarchy? Just cowardice, a way to avoid facing the fact that he might be nothing. His entire worldview, his synthesis, is just a little fort he built to hide from the abyss. And his grand destiny? Nothing more than a shield to protect him from the terrifying idea that he's just a meaningless mistake, a spectral glitch.
So you can see the huge gap here, right? On one side, you have the king, who sees himself as this great synthesizer, a creator of meaning. But on the other, the shadow sees only regression. It sees a man wearing a crown as a mask to hide his own crippling fear. He's not a master of darkness. He's just running from a truth he can't stand to look at. So the king, with his back completely against the wall, makes this one last, desperate, defiant stand. You can hear his voice tremble, but his words are absolute. He claims this whole journey into nothingness was his choice. It was an act of power. He says, "I don't fear the void, I author it."
And you can just feel the trap closing. The shadow hears this claim of authorship, this boast, and it pounces. It uses the king's own words against him to lay down one final, inescapable challenge, a true test of his so-called mastery.
And the ultimatum is just brilliant. The shadow basically says, "Oh really? You're the author? Okay, big shot. Prove it. If you truly command the void, you don't need your props.
Let go of the lantern that lights your way. Drop the vial of blight that defines your works. Get rid of all the symbols of your power and become the very thing you claim to control. And the flip side, man, it is brutal. The alternative is to admit that everything he is a complete lie, that his sovereignty is just another mask, and that his powerful will is nothing more than a terrified, pointless scream into an infinite, uncaring darkness.
All right, so where does all this lead? I mean, this whole thing feels incredibly destructive, but believe it or not, there's a purpose to it. This encounter isn't just about tearing the king down. It's a critical part of his journey, a carefully designed moment.
You see, this entire scene, it's basically the ultimate internal conflict. It's a psychological pressure cooker designed to absolutely shatter the king's ego. The point isn't to destroy him, but to force him to hit rock bottom. You know, that moment of total crisis that has to happen before any real profound transformation can begin. And this is the way forward. The king can't win by fighting the shadow. No way. The only way to survive this is to integrate it, to absorb its truth. He has to go through what the text calls the Great Liberation, by finally accepting what the shadow is telling him, that his true power doesn't come from building things to fill the void. It comes from the nothingness itself.
And that's the big, challenging question this whole story leaves us with, isn't it? It suggests that maybe, just maybe, our ultimate power isn't found in the titles we hold or the masks we wear. Maybe real strength is found in having the courage to face that void inside ourselves and to find our power in that very emptiness. What do you think?